Hello, everybody, and welcome to another live team meeting, this time on the 9th of June on Sunday. With us today, we have Parker, Daniel, and James Goose, as you know him, and we'll be running through a few things, including the latest ZelCore release, 2.0.4. We have the Kamiooka network upgrade with Zel node, ZelHash. We have an intro to Zel Labs. Daniel will be giving us that. We have a marketing and listings update from James and Daniel. We have a little bit of an update regarding Zel nodes from Parker and developments around Zel nodes. And then Daniel will bring us in with the new community donations site. So kicking off with ZelCore Plus and ZelCore news with version 2.0.4. We've added Ripple, XRP, not the same thing. We've added XRP, cryptocurrency, and this is sort of a first sign of the push we're now making to just run down the top 100 in CoinMarketCap and add everything from EOS to Cardano, from Tron to you name it. We're running down there with Lumens, and that's a big popular one we keep getting asked for. Doge will be making it in soon, so keep an eye out. We're going to have all your favorite assets in ZelCore that have been missing for a while in there soon, along with the other 150 something now, 55, 56. We also welcome a smaller community project, Axe, and Daniel will talk a little bit more about that in the lab section. So Daniel, do you want to quickly run us over the new ZelCore Plus features, or do you want me to take that?
Yeah, I mean, hey, you can have at it, buddy.
All right, sure thing. So today I just joined us, but I'll take it. We've got added features, the ability to choose your own backend infrastructure. So just go to settings and then backend, and you can choose your own Electrum or BitCore API. We're also working on sort of providing information and probably get a nice form together that shows you public infrastructure you can connect to if any of our infrastructure is down. This should greatly reduce any downtime you can experience while using ZelCore, because it helps you, select whatever public infrastructure or your own infrastructure you want. You're not just relying on one server or set of servers. It's now possible to edit records in your portfolio tracker. You can also import the state of your wallet. So wallet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 if you're premium, or imported wallets into the portfolio tracker. You're able to rescan recent blocks in Monero. This should help with any balance issues and transactions that are missing. And then Axe and XRP have been added. And then a few bug fixes around Binance DEX and some Ethereum tokens. And the news function, which we're working on having a news aggregator over the next couple of weeks, which should be a little more of a hub and kind of a news stand like the old iOS used to have. Right now, it's just coin-specific news, obviously, inside of Coin Overview. But some more things that were added. We've had language updates. I know Finnish as well as Ukrainian. The Raven assets list was updated, so that should load faster for you if you have a newly or recently created Raven asset. Full node binaries were updated for a bunch of coins, including Snowgem, Bitcoin Z, and GenX that had mandatory updates. And ERC20 was added. Exchanges are now able to utilize proxies. There'll be more information on that over the next couple of weeks. Parker, do you want to mention around BitMEX and why they didn't make it into the release?
Sure. Yeah, we just need to do a little bit more research with our legal advisors and basically make sure that we follow the hard rules that we need to regarding, BitMEX trading with the proxies. I mean, you can probably imagine where the issues lie, but a lot of things are changing with U.S. law, so we're trying to make sure we get it right out of the gate so we don't have to turn on and off any features, including BitMEX trading.
Yep, we'd like to offer the proxies as they are a security benefit, never mind getting around any country or IP blocks. But we need to stay within the law and make sure that if we do enable them, we're not breaking any hard set laws like Parker mentioned. And then minor tweaks and fixes, little improvements here and there, as always. Daniel, do you want to talk about the initiative for ERC20 listings?
Yes, sir. So essentially what we decided as a group is that we wanted to have very transparent pricing, which is not indicative of the crypto space recently and in the past. It's been clouded. You know, how much does it cost to add a token? How much does it cost to add a coin? So one of the pushes that we came out was to have a very transparent, affordable price, because we believe that every project, especially new projects, whether they're ERC20 and somewhere down the road, we also have a pricing structure for Raven and the Raven asset layer. We're going to be transparent in these areas. So we're not going to have these cloudy, murky waters where, you know, each particular project would get some kind of, you know, different pricing structure. We wanted to make it very clean and concise. And we're going to keep on developing these areas because that's how business is done. So we want to make sure that it's in the light and people can see it. So if you know somebody that has an ERC20 token, you want to get them in ZelCore, hit us up, let us know.
Yeah, I think it's pretty affordable. Even token holders can afford it, not necessarily just projects themselves. Yep.
This does not.
Next, I just want upcoming features. Oh,
hold on, I just want to add one more thing on there because I got a question about specifically around coins. Anything that's mainnet coins that obviously that price is going to be quite different, and we do. That is a variable price depending on how far along the project is in their mainnet. There may be we may have to stand explorers up for them. We may have to help them with their test nets. We may have to do different parts that help them with different parts of the project as they start to grow. And we're going to talk about that and what Zel Labs is doing, because that aligns exactly with some of those projects that are well developed or early incubational models that we're going to work with and help. So that is an ERC20 Pro token only.
Yep, and I'll just tag on from a developer's point of view. I'll speak for Tadesh and the others. It just really just depend. If it isn't a Bitcore API Insight Explorer that works, or an Electromax implementation that works, then it's a quick add. But if it's something like a CryptoNote or Monero fork, then OpenMonero needs to be available and it needs to be working. And in other cases, for some projects, it doesn't work. So that then requires extra time on our part, fixing things, adjusting them, and making sure it works consistently for users of ZelCore, which shouldn't have to put up with consistent and constant errors that may already exist in those services, or those services themselves may not even exist. So that's why the pricing on mainnet tokens, or mainnet assets, sorry, is so much higher. I'll quickly just mention, someone here mentioned the BEP2 tokens on the Binance chain. I think there's still a discussion within the team on what our strategy and decision will be for adding the DEX and BEP2 tokens and assets. So we'll hear from us in the next couple of weeks once that decision's made. Myths seem to be mentioned. I know Daniel's reached out to them. So watch the space, I suppose. Features to come include the currency calculator. Should be helpful for potentially miners, but also just for conversion and traders between assets. Displaying total asset value, as well as hiding value of portfolios. People like to take screenshots of ZelCore. It's a decent UI, I'd say. So hiding your total balance is, I think, a nice thing for some people. Purchasing curated crypto portfolios. That's something we're working on with a partner of ours, and a few other things such as leverage shorting dark pools and customized notifications. We're also working on a new account system and more. So again, keep an eye on the space. Quick little plug for ZelCore Plus. You've got a plethora of exchanges now available. And it's growing. You've got extra addresses. You're able to import your private keys and manage them within Lite. ZelCore, you're able to sign from any address. So if you're a more advanced user, I'm sure you probably find benefits in ZelCore Plus. And if you're a trader, it's geared towards you as well. Next, I'll carry on talking and talk about the Kamiooka network upgrade, Zel node, ZelHash, and more. Just a short intro, and then we'll host a full live meeting later this week with public testnet going live this week, and hopefully also binaries release along with the ZelCore update, ZelMate update, and information and documentation around ZelHash itself, what you need to do if you're a Zel nodes operator, how to update, and other information and how it affects you depending on what kind of user you are. So the Kamiooka upgrade will activate at block height 373,500, which is approximately July 4th, about 10 p.m. Mountain time. And it should be hopefully in the middle of our little Zel team meetup that we're hosting in Boulder, Colorado. The Kamiooka upgrade includes some notable changes such as ZelHash, which is our own custom proof of work algorithm. You can sort of narrow it down to being 125 and 4 as the NK parameters that we're using, but there's some twists and turns in the code to discourage FPGA developments and also ASICs. Single chip ASIC development, sorry. There are also updates for Zel nodes, fixes and improvements, communication between nodes. Park will brush on that in the Zel nodes talk in just a little bit. And then we've also got an upstream of all the Zcash changes, some features activated, some features not activated that will be specified in the release notes, zip 109, 209. So this version's 2.0.4, 2.0.5, and the revisions -1, -2 of 2.0.5. And that's all there is to it. We'll talk more probably Wednesday or Thursday, along with the release of binaries and ZelCore and ZelMate updates. So that's all there is for now with Kamiooka. One more thing I can touch on, I'm sure there'll be a question regarding mining, because it's a new proof of work algo. There's an open source reference miner implementation. There'll also be a release of LOL miner for both AMD and NVIDIA cards. So that should get you covered if you're on Hive OS and simple mining, as LOL miner is quite a popular one. ZelHash was developed in collaboration with Vilke Trai, better known as Lolly Deeb, the developer of LOL miner. He did some work for Beam and also Grin, and he helped us with our Arcadia upgrade, and he's back and he's done the ZelHash algo swap with us. And then I know of another couple other miner developers that are also supporting the algo swap, and we'll be also supporting ZelHash. So you have a plethora of choices and hopefully some healthy development and competition in the space. So progress should be made. And optimizations. Daniel, if you want to talk about Zel Labs, I'll try and deal with this live support machine I've got going on behind me.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Yeah, so basically ZelLabs, we're going to talk a little bit about that. So you hear the word skunkworks. If anyone's not familiar, skunkworks is kind of a catch-all term. What we're trying to do with ZelLabs is we are announcing that we will create an incubation and acceleration for projects of blockchain and technology-based projects. These are early stage emerging projects within the cryptocurrency and the blockchain technology. So it was one thing that we've learned over the past year is that sometimes we have to do it ourselves, and when we do it ourselves, we learn a lot about the space. And some of the things that we've learned along the way, we can help other projects with as they come through that process, and we can benefit both ourselves and our continued ecosystem that we're developing, where we could also help develop these projects as we go. So some of the recent ones that we've worked through and have went through the Zel Labs process were coin request. If you've not seen coin request in your ZelCore, check it out. It's a great way to send requests. I mean, people are sending me requests all the time, and I'm not sending you my Zel. So, but it's great when you owe somebody something, you can send it. We worked with Axe. It was recently added to the to ZelCore. Great team to work with, or continue to keep developing with them as well. And we worked with a co-marketing and co-community development with Genesis, which is a great little project. If you haven't seen seen them, take a look at it. It's good stuff. We're starting to work with BitPlus, which is a payment processor. And we are also working with community level projects as well. So one of the ones that we are helping right now is we reached out to Bitcoin Z, and we talked about helping them with their Zap BTC Z wallet. So there's actually a proposal that was submitted to their community for review, and they're going through the process of discerning that now, and it looks like we're going to help them out with some of these things. So why do we do that? It helps bring attention and value to our project. You can have you can submit a request for new projects, and we'll continue to keep looking at them and vetting them out over the next several weeks to figure out where we can find new talent and where it makes sense for us and them to align together to continue to keep developing things. So a little overview on what really Zel Labs is. Zel Labs will focus on projects that add that are beneficial and have working technology. So we won't take projects that are or work with projects that are just brand new upstart projects necessarily, unless they have a really good use case and they've been developed. All projects inducted into the Zel Labs incubator program will need to be operating in full developmental phase and have a sound business model and currently generating realized revenue. So what that looks like is, as we kind of go through the due diligence process and we work through helping these projects, we need to make sure that they're in the space for the right reason, that it's a symbiotic, beneficial relationship between both of the projects, and we can continue to keep growing. And as part of that incubation program, Zell has created one of the largest communities and networks of blockchain technology entrepreneurs, experts, mentors, and investors. We've learned a lot over the past year, and we've made a lot of relationships that we can help capitalize and point these new projects in the right direction. So our goal is to kind of be that launch pad that continues to help them develop and move forward. Next slide.
Just a quick overview of some of the things that we'll aim to develop with Zel Labs. As you just brushed over these down, I'll sorry, I'll change the slide. I'll just quickly jump in with Zap BTCZ. So basically, BTCZ has been using the old Twin wallet as their main open source wallet. So we reached out and we said, hey, to the community, how about a new wallet based off of the recent Zepio wallet released by the Zcash Foundation, which is a fresh tech stack written in JS and Angular and wrapped in Electron. So it's easier to develop with, build out features, and it runs much better as it's a modern tech stack, not Java from 2008.
Yeah, and that's go back one, Miles, because I want to go through the bullet points. So just a couple of the things that we're looking to do with Zel Labs essentially is we want to create platform access for Windows, Mac OS, Linux, iOS, and Android via ZelCore. So we want to use ZelCore as this launch pad for these projects to get them in the hands of interested individuals who want to participate with their networks. And as we kind of stated earlier with our clear pricing structure, we're helping these projects, and we're not gouging them. We're not holding them 20% of their tokens and doing private sales and things like that. We're actually just trying to help these guys continue to keep developing technology, and in return they help us and we develop our technology footprint as well. So we want to accelerate legal, security, and business and operational advice. Mentoring is a big thing. A lot of projects are new and they don't necessarily have the greatest advisement. So we've been very blessed to have a whole core of really good advisors on this project, and we continue to keep sharing those and looking for opportunities to advise with other projects. We want to access to entry-level partnership exchange, and we also, these projects, as we bring them through the Zel Labs ecosystem, and we'll probably talk a little bit about ZelX here in a bit, but that'll eventually be one of the things we want to address as well. They'll be added to ZelX as that begins to go live. Guidance to other partners in the space to grow the project and build logical partnerships. So basically introducing people, putting them together. So that's whether it's VC or angel investors or grants, we want to look at each particular area where we can develop the ZelCore and the Zell ecosystem, but also work with partners out there that are logical. So that's a little bit about Zel Labs. So if you know someone or know a project that would benefit, or is an upstart project that has a really good idea, please reach out to us at zell.networks/labs.
Next up is Parker to give us a quick update on Zel nodes, our computational networks development, daemon updates, and planned upgrades. Can you take it away, Parker?
Sure. Yeah. So just an update on where we are at. If you haven't seen the dashboard lately, we're over 800 nodes. Pretty steady growth on the node numbers. Nothing too crazy, which is nice. They just trickle in, and haven't really, we haven't really lost a lot of nodes or anything, which is nice, because if you've been part of other masternode projects, then maybe you'll know a little history, but usually they're a little less stable. So yeah, over 800 nodes, and 42% of the current Zells locked up in just Zell nodes. So we're well over 50% total lockup, including the Zell Foundation and the core team holdings. And then we've talked about you can go to the next slide, Miles. Yeah, we've talked about the upgrades before. So you might have seen this before, and we're just continually working on the big upgrades for Zell nodes. A lot of the pieces of that will be included in the Kamiooka upgrade with ZelHash. Some of the longer term things that we're working on is, we're working on the benchmarking to do the version 2 of the benchmarking. We are exploring some other ideas at the research level, like deterministic rewards instead of the voting structure, but that's relatively far out. Obviously, the sidechain integration is a big part of the Zell nodes. The need for Zell nodes, including decentralizing some of our infrastructure. One of the things Tadeusz has worked on is, I think Tadeusz and Goose worked on it, was Dockerizing some Electrum servers so that we can stand up more infrastructure for some of the assets in ZelCore, things like that. So we're still well underway. And then we have some specifics about Zell nodes that will come with the Kamiooka upgrade from Blonde Frogs. So I'll just read those real quick. Basically, we're optimizing the voting for how the Zell nodes decide which node to pay out. So there's 2 voting structures. There's the mandatory payout voting that needs to be done, and also the voting for who's the winner. So we're optimizing those numbers based off of the last couple months of running the Zell nodes. So that should be more reliable. Another thing we changed about the voting is each tier is only voting for its own tier instead of for all 3 tiers together. So basic votes for basic, super for super, like that. And then one big update will be how the syncing is performed. So there's been a couple of issues where there's just too much data to sync for some of the daemons, and they get a little bit behind. So Blonde Frogs has fixed some of the efficiencies in that syncing, which will be important going forward to speed up the network as a whole and to propagate all the messaging that's happening. And then another nice thing that was added is verbose logging. So there's going to be some more details in the logs. I've seen a lot of people post their logs on Discord and ask questions about it, which is great. A lot of the messages they see don't even pertain to Zell nodes in particular. It's more just the daemon or the node giving some feedback. So we'll have some more Zell node specific errors and messaging and all that inside of the log, the debug file.
Great, thank you.
Is there another slide?
Nope. I'll just quickly finish up with Zell nodes and sort of just say that next version will be coming out this week with the binaries updates and Kamiooka, with the upgrade going live again on the 4th of July, same as ZelHash. So that protocol version will be changing to 17.00.12, and there will be a mandatory update, and there'll be all the information, documentation needed, and it will be released hopefully at the same time late next week. Gives you about 2.5 weeks to get things updated, so you continue receiving payouts. Just to reiterate, it's a mandatory upgrade. So if you run a Zell node, you will have to update. There'll be a simple script to do so. And lots of documentation, and and it's the same steps as you've already been through if you've been with Zell since the start. But just to reiterate, it will be a mandatory upgrade. You will need to update. You'll need the latest version of ZelCore or ZelMate to do so. So just make sure you follow the instructions. And if you ever run into any issues, you can jump to Discord, type help !, bring up a support channel, and our mods and some ZelNodes experts will be able to help you through. Marketing team, Goose, I think I'm going to hand over to you. And Daniel, I think we'll chip in as well here.
Great. Thank you, Miles. And some good news, as always, is that this team is constantly providing new things for us to talk about and market. And it's one of those kind of things that really keeps us on our toes because, as I've said in the past, we are a lot of times the second to know what it is that's coming out. And at that time is when we go ahead and start producing artwork, images, and other, whether that be video or the ZelCore podcast. So I would try and talk a little bit about how all of this kind of fits together, especially as we gear up for the upcoming upgrades and Zell node launches, Kamiooka upgrade, and all of that. So we can take a look at the next slide. And part of that whole process is communication based, right? Obviously. And YouTube has been helpful in this regard, but and as you can see here, this is just a screenshot of where we're at in terms of subscribers. Really, you can see right there underneath the title Zell Hub, it says 512 subscribers, which is really absolutely pitiful, if you ask me, regarding a site that's been up now for at least 3 months. And it's not for lack of content, right? We have multiple videos that are placed up, but they don't get the viewership. And doing some hunting around behind the scenes, I realized that we're not monetizing these videos, and I think that's working against us. So what we're working on right now is getting those videos monetized, and this is the thinking behind the scenes. The methodology of this whole process is monetization with YouTube, as controversial as it is for a lot of YouTubers out there who have controversial things to say. Unlike us, we are purely information based. Is that if there's incentive, namely if there are advertisements on a video, then they're more likely to be suggested, more likely to be shared in those feeds. And that's really what we want to do next, is trying to get more viewership and have Zell Hub suggested more frequently. And I think that, once we go ahead and flip the switch onto monetization, that's going to give us a little bit more of an edge and hopefully start inserting us into more and more people's suggested viewer feeds. So that's one thing that we're going to be doing with the videos. You can take a look at the next slide. I would say right now, our core method of engagement is through Twitter. We have been just absolutely rocking it through Twitter. A lot of this is thanks to Daniel, who works with both David and Coach and myself to really get the word out. We kind of plan these things as quickly to the moment we find out, and when we're able to announce it, as far as especially like the latest XRP announcement, which is huge. I mean, it's a great coin to add because so many people know about it and use it. So it's a great way now to secure that coin. So we got that word out right away. But you can see here between April and May that especially April, we're just absolutely rocking it with over 1 million impressions, and then into May, just a little bit less there, but we have been doing a little bit less frequent updates. Some of us have taken some time off, but others also are really focusing, especially our developers, focusing on all of this, behind the scenes kind of stuff. It's like development has two sides to it. We've got the front end and the back end, and they work together. And sometimes we need to focus on the back end a little bit more, and that's the case here with Kamiooka. So as we get closer to the launch date, we'll see a little bit more of a flurry of activity, things that will be announced not only through Twitter, but we'll also have videos on it. We'll also have, especially when it comes to updating nodes or something like that, I'll be sure to put something out just as a helpful guide, as well as the idea of touching upon these things with the core podcast. All right, so we can take a look at the next slide. I just wanted to briefly go over our YouTube engagement. Again, this just sort of to reiterate, the importance of monetization. It's like if there's something in it for YouTube, then they're going to be more likely to suggest us in other people's feeds. People who search for crypto, they might just search for Bitcoin, and we go ahead and throw Bitcoin tags in there or crypto tags, and people are just going to be suggested ZelCore videos, and hopefully the idea of Zell Hub is going to come together with a little bit more cohesion, because what you see right now is just the very beginning stages of what we hope to bring to the space, which is a little bit more of an information type system. And it's not just about Zell or ZelCore. It'll also be about projects that we're working with. And that's the part where we're going to kind of coordinate with Zel Labs and hopefully with other developers and teams that are already supported within ZelCore. Next slide. And the core podcast is really our first foray into that. So we're going to start by inviting some of these other developers, members of their teams, to come and join us for a podcast where we can ask them questions and they can share information about what it is that they're trying to do. What problems are they trying to solve in the crypto space? All of these kind of ideas that I think many developers don't get the opportunity to do, first of all. Now, some may not like to do that. I get that. But at the same time, if we're trying to work with somebody, especially in terms of what we're doing with Zel Labs, then I think this is a nice way to introduce not just our community, but the crypto community at large to a new project, and just show that there are a ton of different ways in which this new technology can be applied and used, and can also be successful, add value not only to the developers themselves, but also to ZelCore, because we're out there trying to make it work with them. And then, next slide, in addition to that kind of, like the podcast is not necessarily a video thing. We could, incorporate, some type of video reviews of different projects if need be, but we'll have to kind of talk more about that. In the meantime, and to kind of go along with that, we have this idea of an AMA, and Daniel's going to be doing that not too long from now on Monday, June 10th at 7 p.m. So, Daniel, you might want to add a little something about, what it is that kind of inspired you to do this.
Yeah, and I just wanted to expand just a little bit on what you said, Goose, about that creating that foundational structure for marketing is essential. So the community is very excited for us to create a marketing program that really showcases exactly what ZelCore is, ZelCore, the Zell family of products are. But to build a pyramid, you have to have a very broad base. And for us to really market effectively the way we wanted to market, we knew we had to create that base. And a big thank you to the team that's put that together, because we have a very broad base now. We have a fairly large, I think it's over 6,000 different followers on Twitter between the two accounts. We have, 5,500, I think, Discord users. We're building that community, building that foundation so that we can continue to kind of keep stacking things up. So those components that we're looking at now, and Goose and Coach and the marketing team are looking at, is how do we best, now that we have a foundational development, how do we best market that? So you're going to see some exciting things come out of the marketing team. One of these things is the AMA. I'm going to be the one to jump out there first, but we're going to have Miles. We're going to have different individuals from the project that can come out on Periscope, because we have that big influential engagements, because followers is one thing, but engagements is the other. And if you look back at that other slide, we had over 1 million engagements. That's impressive. So putting our people out there so that people can see it, they can ask questions, they can feel like they're part of the project. Those AMAs are going to come fairly frequently, and we'll continue to do that with each different division of the business model.
Right. All right. Good. So that's one step, another step forward, I would say. And then next slide talks a little bit about something that has been quite successful for us in a number of different ways. First is the idea of free ZelCore Plus. And this is something that works in conjunction with, a lot of times when a new coin is added to ZelCore, we would work with the community of the other coin and have them offer some free subscriptions to ZelCore so that people could be not only introduced to the ZelCore wallet, but then ZelCore Plus features, which take it to the next level with the integration of those exchanges and the extra wallet addresses and importing of private keys. But we do have a little rule in place, a couple rules, I should say, that we're looking for original content, and we want to make sure that that content reflects your values. So this is really for projects that are interested in, sort of working with us as we onboard your coin. Then, we can get you some free subscriptions. But beyond that, this one here.
Goose, let me just jump in there. This is actually for our community. So this was
developed. This is for everyone else.
Yeah, this is yeah. In labs, we talked a little bit of how we would do it with them, but this, what we heard was the community say, "Hey, we want a way that we can get some free ZelCore Plus." So whether it's through like a trial or something of that nature. So we went back and we sharpened our pencils up and we looked at it and we said, what would make the most sense for us to be able to provide the community an opportunity to get free ZelCore Plus? So this is specifically for content that will be generated for Zell. It's original content that reflects the values of the project. So it's got to be very specific. Just throwing a tweet up there, just saying, "Hey, check out ZelCore" or something like that isn't gonna cut it. It's going to be written, video, streaming, and memes. Yes, memes. I love memes, and I'll give free ZelCore Plus away for good memes. They're all okay. They need to be high quality, and it needs to be submitted to a core or marketing team member for review. So if you have something you've created, whether it's a Steam article or whether it's maybe a Reddit or something of that nature, it needs to be submitted to us. We will compile those. And the ones that are accepted, we're going to give you free ZelCore Plus. And then once a month, we'll pick the very best project that's been submitted, and they'll get a year of free subscription to ZelCore Plus. One of the big important components there is no shilling, guys. We want to make sure we represent the project correctly. We want to make sure that we look like a technology company and very business centric. Be respectful. So I don't want to see anybody trolling other projects. Make it about us. We have enough cool stuff going on that we don't need to focus on anything but us. So sorry I jumped on you there, Goose, and came over top of you. I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood that this was really for an opportunity for the community.
Yeah, my mistake. I thought there was another slide here that highlighted the fact that we are also working with that, but that's mostly covered in Zel Labs. So that's great. So we got one for the Zel Labs, a new sort of like the onboarding of a new coin, but then we also have this new effort to get the community involved. So definitely take advantage of that. One last thing that I would add about projects that are interested in having a spot on the Core podcast with Coach and Goose, please get in touch with the marketing team. And specifically, you can reach out to Brent G, who is one of the other people who is working with us and helping us to schedule different teams. So do get in touch with him right away on our Discord, and we'll try and get you into the mix so that we can highlight your project.
Thank you, Goose and Daniel. Lastly, donation site and listing updates, and this is around exchanges. Again, I'll hand this over to Daniel and Parker to talk about.
Yeah, you guys are going to get tired of me today. I know this is going to be a long meeting, but this is important stuff right here. So we eventually, basically what we want to do is we want to have a real serious discussion around how we continue to fund the project moving forward, how we continue to develop the project moving forward. And one of the things that the team, when we sat together and we talked, was we heard the community and we acknowledged their desire for larger exchanges and larger marketing campaigns. So what we have done is we've created a donation site that will allow the community to actively participate and raise for newer exchanges. The foundation funds will not be spent on these items. So that's the first question that a lot of people will say, is they'll say, well, what about the foundation? That money is put aside for the development of this project, and we will not jeopardize the future of this project for anything, including overpriced exchange listings, which you guys will see here in a bit. There are 4 distinct donation categories. There will be a donation website. So the first one is marketing. We have set both Zell and BTC goals for these areas. When we fill those goals, what we will do is make it completely transparent with what we're doing for marketing. Goose kind of touched base on this earlier when he talked about monetization of YouTube or whatever it is that's going to continue to help develop our marketing. So for us to advance our marketing program, we're going to have some resources to do so aggressively, and that's where this comes in. The second one will be exchange listings, and we have some roundabout pricing structure that we're going to talk about soon. And this next slide, development, which is ongoing development of the project, and really can be defined as different phases to help assist the project moving forward, and the coffee and beer fund. So the coffee and beer fund is specifically for just what it says. We're a community project. So, these are tips for the developers who work tirelessly, tips for the marketing team, tip for the mods, tips for people, and we'll distribute it that way. The community is very strong and vibrant. These donations will go a long way to continue to help develop this project. And we need to look both short and long term. The long term look, as we've always had it as a community, is to continue to keep building on Zell and developing out the project and ZelCore as well. And this gives us an additional way to fund that and continue to make it grow. By the way, I need some coffee, so you can feel free to send me donations.
This is what coffee, beer, and wine fund. France has changed me.
A beer would be all right too, so I'm fine with that. So this is just a little snapshot of what the Zell community donation page will look like. So you guys in the community that have asked for listings, you've asked for marketing, it's time to put your money where your mouth is. So donate, help us out, and help us continue to keep growing this project for you all. The next thing we're going to talk about is the dirty thing. And I have no love for this, and I'll be the first to say that this is probably the part of the project that's the hardest for me. And this is the listing.
I've seen it almost snap 3 or 4 times over exchange listings. It's a painful process to see Dan go through this. At least he's the strong man to handle it all.
Yeah, it does make you. It does make you angry, because as you know for a fact that these, as a project that boards other projects. So that's our whole business focus on ZelCore, is to take other projects, get them into our platform at a fair fee. So it covers our developing fee. It covers the infrastructure. We do it to help the project, to help us. And and it's a shame to see some of these prices, because we know that those things are just not legitimate. So these are some of the prices that we're looking at. So we did get a couple of these that have been recommended from the community. And what we did is we went out and found some of the best ones that will work with us. And we're going to be very transparent about the cost. So we'll start out with the first one was Coinbene. They came back. We're looking at about 6 BTC. KuCoin, I'm not even going to acknowledge that one. P2P, B2B, which is a number 20. That's 4 BTC. HIT BTC came back at 10 BTC. Hotbit was 4 BTC. OKX was around 12. BitCur Exchange, which is 3, and IDAX, which is 15. Several of these I wouldn't list if my life depended on it. I wouldn't do it to the project. So what I think we're going to do is, as we start to raise funds for a listing, we're going to pick the best one that fits the project, and that's the one we're going to focus on. So there's no way in hell we're going to raise the funds for each one of these exchanges. But what we can do is target the one that's the most logical, not necessarily the cheapest, but we're going to target one that's reasonable. So, and we have recommendations as a core team that we will share with the community later as we start to raise funds. So I would say we definitely need to target around 4 to 6 BTC. And I think if we can do that, I think we'll get a decent secondary exchange over Stacks. We have applied to all the major exchanges, every single one. They're all busy with IEOs right now. I'm being frank with the community, and I'm letting you know they're not interested in listing proof of work projects because they're creating their own projects directly from these exchanges. So Bittrex, Binance, Poloniex, Bit4X, Coineo, Huobi, Coinbase, and more. All funds raised will go toward listing of one of these exchanges. To expand to a larger exchange, like I said, we need to probably target between 5 and 6 BTC. So again, these are all uncomfortable things that you have to talk about as a project. And we've always said from the beginning that we will not pay for exchange listings, and we stand very firm in that. But the community themselves, if that's a requirement that they have to have, then we are more than willing to facilitate that and work for that and make that as one of our action items. So those are some prices, and that's kind of what we're looking at.
Yeah, I just want to tag on that. I know Daniel, Parker, and recently Brent have reached out to the exchanges tirelessly. I think there's been a rotation maybe every month or two as they themselves recommend. It is disheartening when you look at these exchanges and the projects they're listing. I think maybe only recently with Grin, if we can even call Grin a kind of honest proof of work project, have been listed on any of these major exchanges this last year so far and late last year. From a business standpoint, on their behalf as the exchange, they're making millions on these IEOs, and them taking 2 to 6, maybe 12 hours of dev time and then some marketing time for a proof of work project. They have to work on market making. It's too much effort for them when they can just pump out another IEO.
Yeah,
so
I want to
shame. I'm speaking frankly here. You can throw in your 2 cents, Daniel. But yeah, I'm happy I've been able myself to avoid the whole listing side of things personally, because I can see it from their side. It's just draining.
Yeah, it is draining, and it's I mean, truth be told, who's gonna turn away free money? And that's exactly what these exchanges are doing now. They're creating free money. But the good news is if the community, the other option that we didn't even list here was to take that money and focus it back internally and work on the continued development of ZelX, which the sooner we get resources aligned correctly, the infrastructure is being put in place, all the I's are dotted and T's are being crossed. So this may be an irrelevant argument. There are the abilities to kind of break the wheel and get beyond the standard listing process. But to get that, if the community deems it appropriate, then that's what we will do. So we want to make sure we use the resources correctly, and as the community is really kind of pushing us towards.
And just to reiterate, Daniel did mention we stand by the moniker of the dev fund will not be used to pay these listing fees. The dev fund is for the development of the project and for the devs. Yeah, okay, it's used for marketing occasionally, but mostly it is used for the devs and to keep things rolling around here. We would not pay. It's laughable. We know it's not going to take an exchange longer than 6 hours if they're not written like absolute rubbish to integrate Zell. Never mind. Okay, maybe some hours in marketing, and they have to do some research in market making. So yeah, of course there are staff costs, of course there are infrastructure costs, but they are not 15 BTC. They are not even 10 BTC. So yeah, I'm really, I don't think it gets enough praise from the community, but Daniel Parker and I can tag in Bren have worked tirelessly on this. There've been countless hours of calls, and you know, Fraser deserves a pat on the back for the way they get that, and hopefully this is what the community will accept. And as Daniel said, we'll make some recommendations on some of the better exchanges that we've had conversations with, because some of them are honestly trash. Some of them don't know what they're doing. Some of them are very clueless. I think it's shown publicly recently, hasn't it? Let's roll back.
Yeah, we picked out some of the better ones here that, and I mean, you know, that have, I mean, there's a couple on there that, although they may be on the higher side, they've been more than willing to engage with us and understand that we're a community-driven project. So their fee could have been higher, and we worked with them to get it a little bit lower. But I think for the most part, yeah, they're real focused on their IEOs and listing their own products.
Yeah. All right. Back to happy thoughts.
I'll add that the
we'll
donation website
will
be the donation website will be live in, I don't know, maybe 24 hours. So we'll put it up soon. Some people were asking about it in the live chat.
Yep, we'll announce that in Discord, throw it on Twitter, all the usual, and we'll reiterate it on the next live meeting as well. I think we'll host a Q&A now, and then we'll probably host a Q&A in a week and a half, 2 weeks' time as well, discussing this as well as the Kamiooka upgrade and other such things. So that concludes this meeting. Any closing words from anyone on the call?
I'll just add, Miles. I'll just add, Miles, that the project itself is doing great. The state of the union is strong. We're continuing to keep developing, and you know, it really didn't dawn on me how much we have done. In Discord today, somebody had posted a question. I believe it was our in-house troll Akira, asking about what we had done as a project, and somebody responded back, and I wish I could give you a shout out because I don't remember who did it, with a Mary CH, I believe it was, with a bullet point list of the things that we've done just in the past 4 months, and I had to read it twice because I was like, wow, that's insane. I mean, the project itself is just, we continue just to keep developing this ridiculous pace, and you know, props to, you know, the development team, Tadeusz, Lumi, Parker, Miles, all of the marketing team, all of the mods, the team. I can't even thank you guys enough for the things that you've done. But Blonde Frogs, who has been really, really influential with our node structure. You know, you guys are all good, man. I can't even tell you how good. Just impressive.
Yeah, I'll second that. I'm looking forward to the stream we'll hopefully conduct on the 4th of July, the Kamiooka upgrade, where we'll hopefully meet some new faces. It's going to be a team meetup, and we'll talk about the potential for a community meetup as well in Boulder. If there's enough people interested, I think Barrett will try and organize something. But it'd be nice to say, you know, thank you face to face to some of you guys from the team. And yeah. I'm very happy with where things are, regardless of exchanges. We're kicking ass, to say it lightly. So yeah, good job, Dan, on patting everyone on the back. That's for sure. We'll jump into the usual Q&A. We'll be on Discord, and you'll see us around as always. So thank you, everybody. We'll do it for this meeting, and we'll be back with you at the end of this week and in a couple weeks' time. So thank you. Good morning, good evening, good night.
Thank you, guys. All right.
Night.